everybody, and welcome to the December 2018 edition of the Bizarre Briefing. But it is 2019. Of course, everyone knows we do this in the previous month, like a magazine would.
We can't talk about the month if the month hasn't happened yet.
That's right.
We could, but it wouldn't be. It would be like
speculations. Yeah. Of course, that's Brandt Hughes.
Hi, that's me.
I'm Bryce Castillo, and this month we are joined with a new face, John Royale. John, hello.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Oh, new voice too.
A new voice, that's right.
I do have a different voice than you guys.
Wow.
That's a tough thing. Some podcasts don't have that luxury.
Oh, really?
True.
There are a lot of podcasts out there where it's like two guys with really similar voices. And it's difficult, especially if you're a new listener, to pick out the discerning between the two. But thankfully, John sounds very different from everyone else in the crew. So
I got the job.
True.
So before we kind of dive into John and who he is and what he's doing here, it's January now. We're all back from holiday breaks, though you're about to head out for a small vacation next week or something, right, Brandt?
Yeah.
Did you do anything for the holidays that just passed?
I worked.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. I stayed inside because most places are closed on holidays, and I hate it.
You should have come to the New Year's thing. I just take a couple. I don't know.
That was in the middle of Rapid Response Week, which we'll get to later.
Yeah.
Which I had zero opportunity to do literally anything.
Oh, okay.
So.
Well,
Yeah, everything is closed legitimately in Austin, Texas. Because I had this dream of grandeur of doing some Panda Express on Christmas Day.
nope.
No, nothing.
No.
And in fact, cruelly, all the pizza places in town all leave their open signs turned on.
Ooh.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's no good. Panda Express is a weird one because some Chinese restaurants will be open on holidays.
Not a single one in Austin.
None of them were.
I looked.
Wow. That's weird. That's super weird because even back home, I went home for a week over Christmas, and there were like Chinese restaurants and like sushi restaurants that were open on the Christmas days. So that's weird that there weren't any here.
I ended up with DiGiorno.
A solid pick.
You could do worse.
Yeah.
It's surprising how many places close early on New Year's Day. To me, that seems surprising.
New
because
Year's Eve or New Year's Day?
New Year's Eve, I guess.
Okay.
Which is surprising because most places normally close before the New Year's Eve thing happens, the crossover to New Year's, which is when you would want to be celebrating, I would assume.
Yeah.
So it's like places that are closing at 6 p.m. or something on New Year's Eve. It's like, well, you got 6 hours before the real stuff happens.
True, but you gotta.
I would like food
well,
at 7 p.m.
That changes it a little bit. I don't know. That's a weird thing because I think especially with like fast food, we've become accustomed to like open late.
Sure.
And it's the holidays. People don't want to be there. People have to go home and like prep for part. Like you want to be, you want them to be there. But you have to. It's like if you're having a party, if you're having people over, you need time to prep and wash the workday off of you and get, the place ready and stuff. I don't know. I get it.
Bryce is a good host, I'm assuming.
I think so.
I'm just sitting here as a person who ends up working through holidays. It's always a weird thing for me, and it's understandable that it's like, oh yeah, there's like a whole cultural zeitgeist behind holiday stuff, and people want to do their thing. But for me, it's just like I've got this weird isolated hermit lifestyle, and I just go, but I'm doing what I do every day. Why don't people just do things that they normally do? Why? And also it's so hard sometimes to figure out, okay, some places will be open now. Some places will not be open now. The places that are open, I have no idea how their hours have changed or when they're going to be open for how long. And it's like, okay, well, either I can just try to scrounge something up at home, if I've been to the grocery store recently, or I can go outside and just like hit the usual suspects and see which one of them is open.
Yeah.
And that just kind of sucks.
And you worked through Thanksgiving too, right?
I especially worked through Thanksgiving. Yeah, because that was... Yeah, I want to say that was like later in the week, so it was like,
it would have been on Thursday.
The thick of the Modern Rogue edit. I recorded that one. I never published it anywhere, but I recorded my editing of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, but also Thanksgiving to me is like one of the holidays I care the least about.
Wait, I thought Thanksgiving was like super your jam.
No, Halloween is super my jam.
I know Halloween is super
Thanksgiving
your jam.
I hate because it's all about foods, which I loathe and detest.
But I thought it was foods that you liked. It's turkey and mashed potato.
You don't like turkey, do you?
I only eat turkey at Rudy's. That's the only place I ever eat turkey at. I and gravy, hate it. Mashed potatoes, I'm fine with mashed potatoes. It's fine. I can understand somebody who appreciates mashed potatoes, but it's not like particularly my thing. I like green beans, which green beans are kind of a Thanksgiving-y thing.
Yeah.
But basically every other Thanksgiving food I do not like.
I thought you were the other way on Thanksgiving.
No.
Oh.
And also it's about like gathering with family, and it's like my family's so spread apart and dispersed, and it's like,
We had a little friends thing in town that you could have come out to.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
Well, that was the holidays. John, you I guess we'll talk a little bit about it in a second, but you were in town. Were you in town for Thanksgiving also?
No, I had made it out here when did I get out here?
The start of December?
Yeah, the very beginning of December. Like I want to say December 2nd or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember what I did for Thanksgiving. I assume it was Chinese food.
Okay. Yeah.
I showed up in December as well when I showed up.
Yeah.
What month did you show up in, Bryce?
September. I'm never going to forget it because it was September 10th and my dad flew out the next day.
Sure.
Yeah. I will always forget the year. I can never remember if it was 2014 or 2015, but I always can remember that we finished the drive out here September 10th.
Well, wait, where are you guys from?
I grew up in the Dallas area.
I'm from Virginia. So I made the drive out with my father to move a lot of my stuff out here in 2014 or 2015. One of those 2 years. Yeah. And so I guess let's talk about John.
Yay.
Let's get into John a little bit.
What's your deal?
What's up with you?
I'm John fucking Zoidberg.
Okay, yeah.
It's not his actual name.
No.
I happen to know. You can't fool me on that one.
He knows names.
Yeah. That's his gift.
It's my specialty.
That's his X-Man skill.
That's why I was hired.
Because you know names.
Yep.
By the way, what is Bryce's last name?
Do you want me to spoil the surprise for you?
I've definitely said it.
I do know his last name. I am an expert in names, but...
Because I know you're Mr. Hughes.
Mm-hmm. That's accurate.
I don't know.
I can confirm.
I don't think anybody's said his
so
last name.
embarrassing.
He doesn't have one.
That's right. It's so embarrassing. I make up a fake
it's
stage.
just Bryce.
No, my last name is Castillo. Bryce Castillo.
Oh, Castillo.
That's right.
Okay, maybe somebody has said that.
Yeah, it might have been me about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah.
But so, John, you're like starting to work with us now.
I am. I'm officially. I threw up my whole life and just came out here because I've been living in Los Angeles the last like 10, 11 years doing filmmaking, like usually my own web series, but the last couple of years I was working at Raleigh Studios with Dr. Randy Olson. If you guys ever saw Flock of Dodos like 12 years ago on Showtime, I don't know.
No.
Biologist turned filmmaker. Anyways, he recruited me a couple of years ago to start working with him and doing like the weird thing about a lot of my work the last couple of years, because I've worked with him, I've worked with Michael Shermer, Skeptic Magazine, the James Randi Educational Foundation when that was a thing. A lot of my work will never ever be seen by the public, either because it is so obscure and nerdy, or because it is proprietary video stuff for major clients.
Sure. Internal video.
Yeah. So like
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Dr. Randy Olson has this program to teach people how to tell stories, and he sells that to big government agencies and, businesses. Like they've worked with NASA and Parks and Rec in America. And so a lot of the videos I've done are just for those big clients that nobody will ever see. But a lot of the other stuff I do is widely available. It's the skeptically pwned stuff, where we started out as just doing comedy for skeptics. And the last couple of years, it's just been mostly sketch comedy with like me hanging out with a lot of stand-up comics. So,
is this the website here?
Yep. With the annoying newsletter thing. Sorry about that.
Every
kids.
website has to have a little pop-up now.
Because, here's the thing. Like YouTube a couple years ago decided, oh, by the way, we're not playing with Facebook or Twitter or anybody else anymore. And so the only way to maintain your views and to maintain, your relevancy, you got to get old school again. We had to rebuild our whole website. We had to start a newsletter.
Yeah.
Because YouTube was just killing us. And so now everything we do and release is uploaded simultaneously across all social media. And there's no more guarantees anymore. So you got to get old school.
Yeah. Brian has talked a lot in the After Things podcast, the sister podcast to Weird Things, weirdthings.com, about the power of email lists. And he'll be the very first one to tell you, probably unsolicited, that you need to have an email list on anything that you do.
Yeah, Dawkins was up for like another book or movie deal, something like that. And the first thing they asked him, and we're talking Dawkins like at his height, bestseller, world renowned, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, well, how many people do you have on your newsletter list, on your mailing list? He's like, I don't have a mailing list. They're like, ooh, yeah, we don't feel comfortable about that. And so they had to build, best-selling author scientist Richard Dawkins a mailing list.
Yeah, it's a powerful tool. I don't know the last time we've done. So we use a mailing list primarily here for the store to announce new products, and especially with like Black Friday being over and holiday sales being over, we haven't used it very much. This is like a weird time of year where it goes from like very hot, like an email every week, to possibly multiple emails in a week, to like really not anything, as they kind of get all the holiday stuff through the pipe and get geared up for the coming year.
It's January. What are the rules on swearing on this show?
You can swear, that's fine.
Okay, like another popular web series says, "Fuck you, it's January."
Yeah. Yeah, though I don't know. Part of me is like, well, we could use that bandwidth to like promote a Modern Rogue thing, or to promote a new Scam Nation thing, which we'll talk about in just a minute.
Because people are done spending, but they might not be done watching.
Yeah, and the other thing about an email list is always that it's kind of a give and take, right? You can't keep hitting everybody up all the time, otherwise people will know you're just gonna keep hitting them up for money and stuff. So that's I don't know how part of for the email list what Brian and David do is they make it very comfortably worded and very like personable, kind of in Brian's voice, and that kind of I think takes some of the sting off of like just a straight ad, really. But as far as like what people receive out of it, sometimes it's tough to make a good balance on what you're giving and taking from an email list, because you have to nurture it, right? It's
yeah, and building an email list is difficult because like the one thing everybody who knows way more than me said was, don't start filling it with every email address you have. You got to make this organic. You got to make sure that they sign up. And
and legally you have to be careful.
Legally speaking, true. So I literally went to because I've been in LA for 10 years, so I got stacks of business cards, and I went through individual by individual, emailing people like, hey, how you doing? I remember we did blah, blah, blah together. you should sign up for my newsletter. And that actually worked better than any of the ads we produced.
I'm sure. Yeah. Because there's like a person, like you are like, especially if it's someone you've done work with before, they're of course gonna, oh yeah, I know that guy. I can, that's a favor. That's someone doing you a favor at that point, instead of just trying to get the right random person to say yes, you know? Yeah. So what's like your production background? Like you mentioned doing like internal videos and client corporate video.
I am, like many people these days, I am not a film school guy. I went to LA to do the whole acting thing. And after a year of background work, commercial work, and, you know, a couple decent roles here and there, it just kind of dawned on me like, wow, I don't have any decisions whatsoever in what I can do. Like if you're an actor, all you can say is yes or no. Sure. And you're always going to say yes. And so I'm like, well, if I want to do anything that I want to do, I'm going to have to make it. So me and a couple of my friends bought a camera and started shooting goofy sketches. And then it's like, oh, we need lighting. Oh, we need decent sound. And you guys know, you build from there. And soon we're, you know, getting into the nuances of color correction and audio work. And soon we have our own little production company where, you know, we're getting hired by, you know, big science organizations in LA and working with at Raleigh Studios, Dr. Randy Olson. So it's really just been like DIY, you know, learning through tutorials. And, you know, the last couple of years we've been mostly purchasing all of our software legitimately. So we're like almost the real deal. And then, you know, several months ago, Brian started hitting me up and he's like, you know what, we should just get you out here. I'm like, I don't know. I live in LA. I'm doing my thing. And he's like, no, just come out here. I'm like, you know what? Why not?
That sounds
tracks.
That tracks historically.
Because I hit up all my LA friends and they all had the exact same response, which was, somebody's offering you a job. Take it. Take it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to hear from your perspective what the interview process is like.
Oh.
So let everyone know kind of how, you know, it's rigorous.
All right. Well, yeah, God. Our story, and I'm going to keep the details light, but me and Brian had a run-in, and this is actually how I've made a good percentage of my friends and enemies, you'll hear. I engaged Brian in an argument that got fairly heated. And it got so heated.
And this was online.
It was online.
Yeah.
And it got so heated to the point that we exchanged email addresses and we, you know, took it to the email and started arguing via email. And I made a whole video to explain my point and I sent it to him. And then a few days later, he actually called me on the phone because I just automatically have my phone number on my email. And he called me on the phone and he's like, hey man, saw the video, loved it. I've been watching all your YouTube stuff. We should be friends. This is awesome. I'm like, oh, okay. I guess we're friends now.
That, I'm not going to say 100%, but very closely parallels my introduction to this company. Though it was more making a very embarrassing song. And thankfully it's been I am a little wary to bring it back up, but it's been a while since I've heard the words to that song. But yeah, that's a non-unexpected. We didn't bring that up as a gotcha. That's very how loosey-goosey.
Yeah, no, and the interview process was him literally sending a link to one of Brandt's edit sessions, and he's saying, hey, is this like in your wheelhouse? And I watched and have since watched tons of Brandt's editing sessions. And I'm like, yeah, I got all that software. Yeah, I kind of mostly understand what he's saying. Yeah, I think I can emulate that. Sure, why not? And he's like, okay, we'll move out to Texas. I'm like, and this actually goes back to you saying that you're kind of a nomad, a homebody. I've very quickly realized how much I am because people are, friends are emailing me and asking me like, do you miss LA? How much do you miss LA? And I'm like, I guess I never noticed that I was in I never really noticed that I'm in any particular city because I am very much a homebody. Like as long as I have high speed internet and espresso, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah.
So
that probably tracks with you, Brandt, kind of as like if we were working out of, say, a different city or a different state, would the benefits of the city itself weigh in much at all for you?
I mean, not tremendously so. I'm sure there would be little things here and there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I spend 90% of my day every day inside my apartment. So
yeah, that's working from home too. That's just like the reality of working from home, basically.
And in fact, the huge benefit to Austin is that when I was in LA, I had to have cool local stuff around me because my apartment was like my bedroom and my living room and everything was one room.
Mm-hmm.
And so working in the same place that you sleep, it's just a mental thing. And so now here in Austin, it's like, no, that is my bedroom. This is my living room. This is my editing bay.
You have spaces.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so now it's like, I almost don't ever need to leave.
Well, you should.
Now you're thinking.
Okay, but
now you're thinking. HEB delivers to your apartment.
Trying to say, get some fresh air. So now that you're here and you're like, did you finish the moving process?
Yes, the move-in is completely done. Much more of a beast than even I anticipated. Although I gotta say, from the time me and Brian, digitally shook hands on the deal. Actually, no, physically, because he flew me out here.
You were here for like a week or so.
Yeah, he flew me out here for a few days. I hung out with you guys. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Actually, you sat in on the last Bizarre Briefing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I was like dying. I was so sick. I was like so congested. But anyways, so I was out here and we shook hands and I went back to LA. And with the help of my co-producer, Matt David, if you're out there, we set me up to move out here. And within 3 weeks, everything just happened. Everything fell into place. I got rid of my apartment, found an apartment out here, packed up all my stuff into the U-Haul version of a pod.
Yeah.
And got it out here. And it just all happened in a very lucky, quick manner.
Nice.
So
nice.
I'm officially here.
Yeah. I think that's I actually used the U-Haul box thing also.
Oh, nice.
When I moved out here. Though it wasn't quite as quick a turnaround as you had, because that was all pre-Modern Rogue and pre all the extra stuff that we're doing now compared to back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now that you're here, some of the stuff that you have been doing, you've been helping us a lot with production stuff on set stuff.
I've been holding a camera and pressing record.
I mean, but it's you know that it's more than that, though.
Yeah, a little bit.
And I understand you've been working on some editing stuff. Is that right?
Yes, I am basically trying to become Brandt's twin in a way. If you can still see the difference between us,
might need it. Okay.
So you gotta do a little bit of that black and white morph technology.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh God, that was like 30 years ago. I'm so old.
Probably more. It's 2019.
When did black and white come out? Fans, people watching? Anyone?
Let's see. Black and White came out. The song by Michael Jackson, Black and White, came out.
Oh.
That's Adam Lambert. 1991.
91.
So that would be
27.
Almost
20,
30 years.
28 years, yeah. Something like that.
Wow.
Well,
anyways, so I've been trying to become another version of Brandt to fill in for to help alleviate some of the weight of the Modern Row, because that is, I don't want to overspeak, but the flagship show at this point. Like,
ouch. I mean, that's probably right, but
Am I stepping on toes?
No. I mean, that's accurate. That's accurate. But and we'll talk about this in our next segment. But modern rock definitely is like in that position, and I guess it has been for the past year or two even.
Well, I mean, it's
yeah.
been.
I mean, as far as like produced shows after the fact, like Scam School has always been the legacy show,
right?
And Modern Rogue has kind of usurped it for like the big exciting thing,
right.
So
I'm here to basically do Brandt's job while Brandt's also doing his job, so that we can produce more content more frequently. Yeah. And so for the last couple of weeks, I've been building a Bible style guide. I've been not only watching, but literally downloading like all of Brandt's Twitch streams, like organizing the color sections, the audio sections, and figuring out kind of all the rules and, and some of the new stuff and the changes. And it's been, it's a beast. The job you do is very meticulous. It's very,
the way I like it.
Yeah, it's very intense. Like you're the first reason I ever opened up my copy of DaVinci Resolve.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I tried that once too, but I didn't quite take to Resolve.
Well, most people don't take to it because I mean, if you're on a PC, DaVinci Resolve, really just has one message to you, which is this. But Brandt showed us a way around it, which is just use pictures, and that was just such a slap in the face. Like, oh yeah, it hates any and all video we ever use, but if we just use pictures, we can color correct things and create LUTs, and so that was a good lesson.
Mm-hmm. I know you've been I have heard about the style guide recently. It did sound like that they were videos that you had been working on. Are those still kind of?
Yeah, there is in fact, I just sent Brandt, and I also have a copy of it.
Oh, he's pulling something out
right here.
Oh, on a keychain,
on a USB
drive. Okay, yeah.
And it's again, it's not a complete thing because I don't know what ads we're supposed to use. I don't, and I'm still missing like 2 or 3 elements that I think are on Brandt's computer, which hopefully after this we're going to go to Brandt's place, or I don't know, Brandt will decide and get those. But it is a basic outline. I actually went back and I redid all the color and audio. And so I think
it's there.
It meets what we're looking for.
What do you think, Brandt?
We'll see.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm, like when we did the when we started splitting up Scam School amongst different editors, I think there's a little bit of a warming up period, and then it kind of sustained itself.
Yeah.
But one of the things that kind of bothered me about Scam School was that there was, I had started adopting like a kind of evolving style to it, where it's like I would just get antsy and want to like go, okay, I'm changing this from now on. Like I'm doing this a different way from now on.
Yeah.
And because I felt like Scam School wasn't really my thing, like I felt like I kind of inherited Scam School.
Right.
So I didn't feel like it was my place to say, okay, now Bryce and Jeff, both of you have to do it the way that I've just this week decided to do.
Yeah.
So there would be like style discrepancies that would kind of get further and further apart as time went on, because I would kind of just go in my direction and you guys would kind of go in your direction. Yeah. And that really bothered me. And I don't think it bothered the audience too much because I never saw people.
I think by the end we were close enough that I would say by the end, like the format had been slimmed down enough that they were rather close. I know that like the one thing I could tell when it was one of your episodes, Brandt, was you had different music tastes. You had slightly different music tastes than I or Jeff. Jeff like would want to use like kind of more rock type music stuff, where I would end up using those like not breakbeat, but those like remix that remix album thing that we've got there. But I definitely the one there's one that we used in the TV show, the stacking glasses with Diamond
Right.
Jim and I remember that having like this like trip hop jazz song on it.
Okay.
And like that's a very Brandt choice. I think we did keep that in for the TV cut. Or I think we kept most of that in. Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so at the very least, like I felt discrepancies in there, at least from time to time. And with Modern Rogue, I definitely want to act as like quality control and consolidate discrepancies.
Yeah, one thing I definitely admire, sorry to interrupt, is like there was a couple times where I kept sending rough cuts, and like the reason I stopped doing that is because I realized, okay, this is I know that there are several things not only missing, but I know that there are several things wrong. So I just need to dive deep and figure out what those things are. And on top of that, though, there was a couple rough cuts I sent where I'm like, oh, they'll be fine. This will fool them. This will fool them because it looks just like the real thing. This will fool them. And Brandt immediately was like, no, this right here and this here and this here. Nope, not that. Yeah. And I was like, okay, so this is for real. He's not faking it. He's not bullshitting. This is a genuine style.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when you put in like 60 hours into one episode to get it like just right, I definitely nitpick and like really get into the fine details on some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I also think it's this is slightly separate, but related. Like, you know, on the topic of notes, I think we're both approachable enough where if you sent us anything for notes, we would try to give you something to work with, right? I think that was a thing with Jeff when he was editing is you know, he made good episodes, and by the end of that of him doing Scam School episodes proper, he was, I mean, he would make good stuff on, you know, usually the first cut or so. But I think he tended to want to keep getting notes and stuff, which kind of always just kind of jams up the process a bit, because if it's at the last minute, well, if you ask us for notes, we'll find something to remark about.
Sure.
And you know, if it's last minute thing, then that can add a delay, or that can mean graphic stuff, but in this case, especially where you're trying to kind of get into the same headspace and the same general style of Modern Rogue, which is very different from, you know, all of the other works that we do. You know, that's going to be a real important kind of back and forth with you guys for probably a while.
Yeah, and especially because you're still like, you know, it's still a living, breathing thing where you're still, you know, making new choices. And
yeah, I mean, just like 2 weeks ago, I started doing timers on-screen information, which we've never done before. And I just thought like, oh, this would be like a cool informational visual thing. And so just 1 week I decided to figure out how to do that. And then now we do that.
Oh, cool. Yeah. And that's the, I can get into this more when we talk in the next segment, but I'm also in a place of kind of templating out a show and making it so that other people can work on it. And I think my approach is very different from Brandt's. I mean, I think in general, we're pretty different people in the way that we approach work. I mean, we both do good work, but I think we have kind of different targets sometimes.
I could definitely feel that sometimes, where I go like, okay, I see our overlap, but I know exactly where Bryce's priorities are going to be on this.
Yeah.
And they're different than mine.
Right. And but I'm in a place of like, I really want this to be like, well, I'll get into it more later, but yeah, we definitely kind of have different priorities, which was kind of a thing when we were winding down Scam School, spoiler alert for like 20 minutes from now. You know, part of, and this had been a thing in the works for a long time. Part of my thinking was like, well, you know, there's a chance that instead I go to work on Modern Rogue, because I've been working on the Modern Rogue production side for since the start, and Brandt and I already do have a good working relationship, like whether it was with Scam School or what, doing like behind the scam stuff. But I also kind of appreciate being on a different thing with kind of different priorities and different goals, because I think I could make a Modern Rogue episode, and I think it would take a while for it to get in the same way that you make Modern Rogue episodes. I think because our styles are very different in that. But I think I've said as much before on this show in the past.
And also there's just something nice about being able to like have a certain degree of control over a thing and just saying like being able to have your vision of the thing and being able to work within that is really advantageous.
Yeah. Well,
with Modern Rogue, like one of the things that it's tough to find the balance, because when you have multiple people working on the same thing, you have to allow them a certain degree of control in order to make, because people are gonna change camera cuts at different times just based off of their gut. And people are gonna have different music selections, and people are gonna have like all these little different things that alter from time to time, maybe slightly different text size or something. Or
and stuff that is in the larger view not life or death.
Right. And they're not out of character, but they're slightly different. So you have to kind of like find where's the line at which point I have to say, okay, this needs to be changed. This is different.
Yeah.
Because I watched something like I went through a couple months of just watching a bunch of Linus Tech Tips videos.
Oh, yeah.
And they have a bunch of different editors who work on their stuff, and that's how they get things out basically every day. And it's easy. Sometimes it's easy to forget that there are multiple editors working on their videos. And then sometimes they put out a video where it's like, wow, they're just really doubling down into weird memes in this video. And like the editing style is very different.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it alters the humor as it's presented because it's framed differently. And it doesn't like work with me. And it's like with Modern Rogue,
it's very singular.
Yeah, I would be okay if we got to a point to where you forgot that there were multiple editors, but I don't want something to stand out in such a way that you go like, oh, that dude is editing this video, and I can tell because of the way that they're doing this bullshit here. Yeah. So there's a balance.
It's a version of like picking your battles on some level. But yeah, well, we're happy to have you, John. You've been very eager to help along. Like, it's been very nice to have you help out with all the production stuff. I know last week we did a shoot where Brandt was tied up with the rapid response stuff, which we'll talk about later, and I was like, man, I need somebody else to help me out with this, even for it being as different a shoot as it was.
And it's an interesting sort of group dynamic, because you guys have all been doing this for a while and you all know each other, and so sometimes there's just not a lot of it's not even a lack of communication. It's like
there's a lot unspoken.
A very unspoken. It's kind of like almost this Project Mayhem, like you decide your own level of involvement. So I'm like, okay, give me the calendar and I'll just keep showing up anywhere I can find. Yeah.
That kind of how some of the shoots go, just depending on what the show is or the video is. And it's weird because I don't necessarily think that on any given shoot anyone is in charge necessarily.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of
I don't know how you would feel about that, Brandt, because I know, like, especially with the Modern Rogue stuff, whenever there's like an impasse, everyone kind of turns to you. But I also don't know if that's like a hat that you like wearing.
I mean, there are certain levels of it. There's like sometimes yeah, there is a certain knowledge of at a Modern Rogue shoot, if there's a question of content or something, I might have a good idea of it because
you're the editor for it.
Because I'm the editor, and I'm going to see it through from the moment we finish filming till the moment that it goes live on the internet.
Yeah.
So I see it kind of as like consulting an expert opinion, where it's like I might not be the judge at the end who bangs the gavel and says this is how it's going to be, but I'm the person who gets called up to the stand because I know a lot about the subject, and so my opinion is going to be weighted a little bit differently than somebody else.
Yeah.
And there are some times where it's we have a decision that we have to make, and I feel comfortable saying this makes a lot more sense, and that's just how I feel about it. But
and there are some things this happened a lot with Scam School, where it would be tough to be that person all the time, because even little things of like, okay, we've been given that we need to choose a table, and
Right.
and we pick a table, and we get set up at the table because we made the decision, and then what we hear is, oh well, this trick doesn't work for a table. We need to be standing up, or I'm already sitting here. Can you guys just come over to where I'm sitting?
Yeah.
Like weird little things like that do sometimes make it difficult, but also I think that it's been a while since we've had anything heavy like that.
Yeah.
I feel like.
And like I've rarely heard the word action.
No, we definitely don't do that. Like that's or cut, like
or settle, or like any of that stuff.
yeah, no.
I have a deep love for not saying cut. Like I really like to let a scene play out far longer than it should be.
Yeah.
Because sometimes that's where you get like the really good stuff of somebody kind of riffing a little bit, but not like really totally being on as a presenter.
Yeah.
But yeah, we don't do a lot of that.
There have been
stuff.
several moments where I'm just like, somebody had to have said it, right?
No,
We're not still rolling, are we?
And we don't. That's another sort of thing that kind of is unspoken, but along with that is like, well, we haven't decided that we're stopped yet, so it's just better to keep going, rather than not.
Because otherwise, then you get in a situation where everybody stops down, and then Brian goes, "Oh wait, hold on, there's this one last thing," and then we go,
which does happen a lot.
Let's start everything back up, sync it all together again,
and
it's the whole thing.
So that's kind of why we tend to lean on, if we call something done, on waiting just a little bit longer for that. Well, we're excited to have you. I hope to see more of your work soon.
Somebody's wondering if there's hazing. What would an editor's version of hazing be? Like, we handed him some daylight footage that we shot inside.
It would probably be like giving conflicting notes, like constantly like, oh, this music's not good. You should try some rock music. Oh, this rock. Why did you do rock music? You should go with the fucking electronic thing.
The only thing I could think of that would even rate, and it would be very minor, is when we were doing Scam School and we started branching out to editors, I would definitely prioritize me getting the episodes that I knew that I wanted to edit. And I'd be like, yeah, this one just looks like a real pain in the ass. I'm going to give that to like Bryce or Jeff or somebody else. With Modern Rogue, I have not had that luxury.
You don't have the luxury.
Yep.
I have no comment on that situation.
Although when people first start, I definitely tend to take it easy on them as far as like, okay, you can't possibly screw this episode up. So here's something really basic to start with, something really easy. And then we can go from there. And then I can start giving you the episodes I don't want to deal with.
I feel like, because by the time you had hopped off of Scam School, I was kind of in that role of assigning episodes basically. And I don't think it was ever a very conscious thing of like, this is a difficult episode, I'm going to give it to Jeff. Especially when he was starting out, or kind of getting into the rhythm of it, because you want people to succeed.
Right.
But the way, when we have multiple shoots in the can, we split stuff up, especially when they're different locations, because we want it to feel varied. It would just kind of end up working out such that he ended up getting maybe tougher stuff.
Although I will say, for me, there's definitely
I think you've had the toughest pair of, was that 2 or 3 episodes of Scam School, the puzzle book episodes when Justin was in town.
Right.
Those like 30-minute crazy.
Well, So
illustration things.
That's sort of what I was getting to. There's a gradient, and there's like difficult, hand it off to somebody else. Extremely difficult. I'm going to handle it because I know what to do with this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to leave it up to chance with somebody else. And so like the episode where we had 0 audio and it all had to be VO.
Right.
That one, I was like, either we can throw this away because I'm not confident that anybody else can deal with this right now, or
I can
deal with it,
ship, yeah.
and I have an idea of how to recover this episode.
Yeah.
So
I was in a
give and
very
take.
similar place with we did best ofs for like 6 weeks or something on Scam School. And, that was the sort of thing where we knew Jeff wanted to go to Scam School Remix full time. And that gets tough when we were dealing with Scam School and the ads and stuff, and we kind of needed that power there. But when we knew that the best ofs were coming and we knew that the switchover was going to happen relatively soon, I was like, well, I'll just handle it all so that it all looks consistent, and he doesn't have to worry about finding stuff because I'm better equipped to find older stuff than he will be. I'm with Brian more often to get this stuff settled.
right.
And so it was a very similar thing sort of with that. Speaking of Scam School, we can finally what
We got there.
What minute are we in? Oh my goodness. We are okay. We're not going to look at how we're almost an hour into the show. So you may have noticed on youtube.com/Scam School, we have some new branding going on under the name Scam Nation. We've been using the Scam Nation name now for a month, maybe. Let me see. What was the very first one? The first one was How Do You Deal with Failure, which was a mailbag video. And so December 6th. And this has been what I've been teasing the past like 3 months because we didn't have a contract finalized. And now that it is, we can talk a little bit about it. But I don't know a good place to start. Feel free to chime in with questions. I'm afraid of monologuing.
All right. How about the name?
Okay, Scam Nation. Scam Nation was...
Did you think of Scam Attack? Or possibly Night Attack?
Oh. Scam Nation is a name that Brian was floating out for a very long time. For maybe over a year. Because there have always been... there have always been rumblings of trying to make this business changeover such that we have different business terms and have different availabilities on what the types of stuff we do and how we do it. And those have been like kind of low grade for a while. And so I think he's had the name Scam Nation in his mind for a long time. And I think when we launched, we never came back to it, but I don't think Scam Nation's a great name. I don't think it's great. And I think Brian also recognizes it's not a great name, but in a world where we want to keep the word scam, which is probably the worst part of it,
right.
so that there is continuity with Scam School and Scam
But the
School
most
Remix,
identifying.
but the most identifiable, that seemed like fine. It seemed fine.
Yeah, you could do worse.
You could do a lot worse than Scam Nation, I think.
You know what? The thing I like about Scam Nation,
Okay.
it doesn't abbreviate to SS.
Yes.
So every time you put out a file, you don't have to say, this is SS.
SS.
574.
Now it's all SN.
Yeah.
Which what would SN be short for?
Spearmint nitrate.
Okay. Hey, there we go. Okay, that could be a thing. And so we kind of flipped the branding right when this first mailbag video came out. And generally, I think people like the videos. Most of the videos that we've done so far are these mailbag sort of one-on-one advice sort of videos with Brian, which I think are cool because I mean, if there's one thing Brian Brushwood is good at, it's bloviating on how to do work, right? And so they're very cool, and we're actually going to look at shooting a few of these here in a few hours, and people seem to like them. I think that they're really good because they're not just tied to magic and how to deal with performing as a magician, but how to perform as any sort of performer, whether you're on stage, in front of people, on the street, wherever.
Yeah, no, like his how do you deal with failure? I mean, that is like the method he explains of like focusing in on failing, like on failing, because a lot of advice on failure is always like, how do you avoid it?
Right.
You know, but he's like, you know, you got to embrace it. Like that just that spoke to me on several things that I've done in the past.
Yeah. And part of the thing about the mailbag type of video goes hand in hand with the whole Scam Nation changeover in that Scam School as a show, without just one day completely ripping up the format and changing everything unbeknownst to people, wouldn't have any place in Scam School, really.
Right.
You know, this 4-minute video has no place in a video where we're teaching, you know, a coin vanish.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's just no point. You couldn't tack it onto the end. You couldn't replace it. You couldn't just make it the whole thing, because then people are like, well, this is not a trick.
Right.
This, like, you would have to be doing a lot of steering to change the course of that ship to make it so that people are cool with it not always being tricks.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's part of it, is like a more general non-show brand, I guess.
And it's also nice that, you know, basically Scam School was taking a trick in a 70-year-old book that took up, you know, a page or whatever, and saying, well, let's make that into a more modern, digestible format of a video.
Right.
But it's like, theoretically, anybody could kind of do that. But with these videos, it kind of harnesses Brian's experience of being a performer for a long time.
Yeah.
And that is actually like a really valuable asset that not everybody can speak to that firsthand.
Yeah, you know, it's really good. And I think, you know, these first 4 that we've put out so far, you know, the day that we shot him, I think he was pretty nervous about it, mostly because they're in kind of a vloggy sort of format, right? They're him talking to a camera with a side camera on him. And that's not something I think he was super comfortable with immediately. And talking to him, you know, in the past few days, he is like really stoked to do it, I think, because it is very natural for him to kind of talk about these sorts of things. And so I like that as one facet of what Scam Nation as a channel looks like. I've been of a few inspirations for how we handle it, but you know, one thing has been kind of getting out of the idea of shows necessarily. If you look at like, okay, we have Scam School and we have Scam School Remix, and then we were doing the giveaways. We kind of had to do a giveaways show to make that its own format so that people knew what it was and they weren't super scared, and it's a new thing.
Right.
Where what I'd like to do is kind of I like to get rid of the label so that people can have a more general a more approachable understanding of the entire channel, so that if we're doing a mailbag video, if we're doing an instructional video, if we're doing a video talking about someone's performance that they sent in or what, that those things can exist kind of without silos necessarily. Very similar, and without some of the hangups that those labels come with, right? I think a lot about how like Giant Bomb does their release schedule, which is like they have labels for their things that they do, and granted, it's a very different type of video, it's a very different type of format, and a lot of their stuff generally is pretty much the same thing. It's a couple of people talking and video games are going on.
Right.
But getting out of like, okay, this is the show, so this is the Friday show, and so this is what we're going to have on Fridays, and so when we have a giveaway, the free giveaways are going to be on Fridays, and this is Remix, and we can only kind of talk about old stuff on Mondays, where in wanting to kind of pare down sort of the legacy elements of Scam School and getting shorter videos, also making it so that videos can be a little more loose when they release, with the understanding that there will be something once a week at least.
Sure.
Right? Like I think a way that I visualize it is like, okay, we have a staple show or a staple video that is Thursday. On Thursday morning, something comes out, and that is the bare minimum of what is on the channel for the week. And then around that, you can fill in other types of videos, right? Okay, well, we've got a mailbag. We can slot in a mailbag. We're able to get this done by this day. And so that can slot in a little looser on the schedule. As well as making it so that anytime we want to do something of a different format, that it isn't saying, okay, this is the format of the show, and now this is the show that takes place on Wednesday. Because as we're still getting our editing power up, we're not able to fill the whole week. Like, we're not in a position to shoot and fill a whole week on anything. And so what that means is, as starting the new brand fresh and kind of loosening those expectations at the beginning.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of a sort of problem that we have with Modern Rogue, where, we have the pillars. So it's, gentleman, warrior, scoundrel.
Yes.
And it feels like it really boxes in the material that we do, because we've applied these labels to it and these definitions. And it's like, well, if it's not one of those three things that you say every time you say Modern Rogue, then like, how does it fit in this channel?
Does it fit? Right.
And also the fact that we use the term episode instead of just video, which kind of means like, okay, well, we could do a video, but is it an
episode?
Is it an episode?
Is it a mini ep?
Is it mini ep? I thought it was really funny that around the time Brian started using like mini episodes, that was around the time that Ryan Conley posted a video where he was looking back on the show he made before Film Riot, and he was calling everything minisodes. But yeah, it's I don't know if that's like something that I see as a bigger problem than Brian and Jason see, because I feel like they're not like super motivated to do anything about that issue that I see.
Well, and I think Brian likes the pillars. I think that's part of it. Is not an indifference on his side. I think he does like them.
And as far as I can tell, like, the pillars are kind of like very open to interpretation. I mean, I've been
they are, but at the point where they are, but I think that X asks the question, why are they there if something is applicable to all three? Is there value in having them in the first place?
Because it's a context, it's narrative, it's like,
and also
anything can be in a story, but you got to build the story, and they've built a great story.
And also, like, what happens when we have an episode that's not any of the three? Then it's just kind of floating out in its own.
I'm wondering if that's even possible.
We've done some that it's like,
this is not any of the stuff.
Building a PC. I guess you could call that gentleman, sort of, because it deals with like electrical engineering, which is smart stuff, which is gentleman, I guess.
What is it? Gentleman, scoundrel, and
warrior.
Yeah. Anyway, we have like a handful of episodes that don't really fit into something neatly, and then also the gentleman stuff ends up only being alcohol videos, because we've never gotten around to doing the gentleman culture shit.
Yeah,
I think we could do a gentleman video on like stage makeup, camera makeup.
Sure.
I mean that seems like an idea. Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I think these boxes are kind of wide open.
Well, and part of that is like, I don't think Jason mostly does all the planning for the episodes, and so I think my guess is for him that's not there's not even a class of that doesn't even factor into the planning of that stuff.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. I think that they are okay on a branding element as just like keywords. But I think as like an organizational thing, they are imbalanced.
Yeah. Although I have been working on an experimental episode, which we talked about the other day. And I don't think it would really fit into any of those. And it would be totally different format. I'm really looking forward to doing it.
Yeah, that sounds very cool. That's a little, wanting to avoid the silos in the immediate sense for Scam Nation is kind of my goal right now, is to get people to understand there'll be something on Thursday and there may be other stuff throughout the week, with the ultimate goal being multiple things a week, and long term possibly something every day. that's very long term at this point.
Sure.
And so I don't know. We had a shoot last week on Thursday where it'll probably be one of the episodes that comes out this Thursday. And I was like super lost on that shoot in a way that I'm normally not on the Modern Rogue stuff or the Scam School stuff. And I think it's partially because the format is different and because, we shot 2 instructional videos for Scam Nation so far, the Erdnase color change with David, and then the
dice swap,
the simple dice swap with Jason. And those I think were very familiar because it's Brian teaching somebody else and teaching them in the space. And this was the 3 of these that we shot last week were Brian talking to the camera. And I felt like lost for choice almost because we had so much control and the scale had been shrunk so far. I mean, it was just Brian just doing these things, showing these things off, and I felt like I don't know. A part of it was like a confidence thing of just like wanting stuff to be right for when I do the edit tomorrow, but it not being a thing that we've done necessarily like this yet, and so I don't even know what this looks like. It was kind of a weird thing. I felt like not in my element in a way that I hadn't.
I can understand that because usually, for me, there's an element of once I'm in the edit, everything becomes so much more clear because I can see exactly what we have and I have context for it and I can kind of see the shape of it. Whereas when we're recording it, there's a lot of just like weird, loose impressions of, like, I think this might work. And also, if you don't have prior experience with seeing that kind of video in that context, and especially in a completed form, then it's really hard to know what you're aiming for.
Yeah.
But have you enjoyed the process of like designing a voice and style for it? Because for me, that was one of my favorite parts of Scam School Remix. I really enjoyed going like, okay, what are like our colored themes, and what kind of assets are we using? How are we handling certain moments and pacing? And Modern Rogue was really great because I was like, okay, let me find like some art inspiration to infuse into this thing.
Yeah, it's been it's been fun to put these videos together. I think they almost I think they kind of occupy a very similar tactile space as the product videos or that we do usually with David and Brian talking about a new gizmo or whatever. I think it kind of occupies a very similar lane there in that they are by design shorter. Like like looking over all of the ones that we've done so far, and they're all under 5 minutes, which the Erdnase was just over 5 minutes, but they are from the get-go shorter, which I appreciate because it means I can be a little more intricate with the fine details of every part of it. But I also just from a level out, like I was, for some of these we did do 2 a week. Like we can do more and more often, and so that's something that I really enjoy also. But it's still figuring out the voice of it because it's still Brian talking or Brian teaching. And as we get into more of these ones that we just shot, that'll sort of solidify even more because that's not even him talking to somebody else. That's him talking directly to the camera and figuring out what those new needs are when it's something like that.
Right.
That's been it's exciting, but it's very much just like it feels like a tightrope walk.
Do you feel like you have like do you feel like you've narrowed it down to sort of a design theme? Because for me, that's when like there's a real amorphous time period when things first start, and then it kind of comes together, and once it clicks, then it really helps inform everything going forward. So like Modern Rogue, it was Cold War tech, and that's when I was like, oh, this makes sense, and I know like where to put in research, and I know like everything in Modern Rogue has like clicks and snaps and is really mechanical in nature.
Yeah. I haven't figured out that guiding light yet for Scam Nation. I do think just out of a necessity to kind of get into a working template, like there are definitely graphic themes and graphic elements that I've kind of gotten into using, whether it's just the font stuff or the way like the it was actually pretty fun kind of designing the lower thirds using that's all the After Effects essential graphic stuff.
Okay.
So you can slot in like, hey, this is a 2-line lower third, and you just type it in all in Premiere, and it puts it all into the actual After Effects file. That's been fun, and I feel like I have at least a starting direction. Some of it is informed by kind of the ideas that I've got for what a set would look like in the studio at the headquarters. But even that is still a little nebulous, because I think I'm thinking of it in like images and colors and stuff, but not quite a theme.
Yeah, right? I was about to say, I think my favorite shot so far is the last episode that we shot at the bar when we turned it around.
Right.
Like I wish we could just shoot all of his advice there in front of that bar.
Yeah, that was a really good look. Though, I mean, part of Scam Nation, one thing I know I don't want to lean too heavily on is bars and drinking and stuff. There is a really great, so I had the side angle so we shot those 3 things, and then we shot a few just really basic ads for Domain, and we had the bar at the Rusty Mule in the background, and one of the regulars there was in the background, and he's got his cowboy hat on, and he's wearing his tight jeans, and you could just like see his silhouette in the background of the side angle. And it's like, this is very Scam Schooly, having like a bar and a cowboy in the back.
Sure.
But so I'm kind of thinking also in terms of what I don't want it to be. So like some of the things that I really want to strip away from Scam School as an idea is like, okay, being at the bar, like needing to have random people who don't know anything about magic, stripping away the sort of the requirement that everything be beginner magic necessarily, with the idea that eventually we can do higher level stuff and just refer back to basic principles or beginner elements so that we have a space to teach higher concept stuff. When Scam School started, they were doing it. I mean, it was not YouTube. It was like a video RSS podcast, and they were doing it like a TV show for as long as a TV show. So they were doing 20+ minute episodes of the same content for the record, like of one trick, just stretched over 20 minutes with very little cutting for editing. Audio was hit or miss on a lot of that stuff. They would do these insanely long ads, long Netflix ads.
Sometimes like 2 or 3 in one video.
Yeah, like a lot of ads, partially because the videos were so long, and so like kind of getting away from like the TV angle, kind of altogether. And maybe this is because I feel very slightly burned from us doing those pilots 2 years ago.
Sure.
But wanting to be like, okay, what does this look like online? Like if we are saying that we are like a compendium of visual information on how to learn to do magic, how do we focus in on that in such a way that like from a user's perspective is exactly what they expect when they see a tutorial, and from a fan's perspective of where can there still be character and interesting elements such that it's not just a very dry explanation with a monotone voiceover, right? Like still having story and still having context, but stripping away like, oh, you know, this is how you'll get, you know, a free drink off of everybody. Like that's a good log line and that's a good sell, but I think it limits what you can do, and without getting into it too heavily, I feel like with Scam School we were kind of bumping up against we were getting to saturation on what the beginner stuff that we could do was that we hadn't already covered before. And so opening up that stuff is another thing, as well as like finding ways to introduce fan content. You know, if like I know Brian is really into the idea of like doing some sort of reacts, quote unquote reacts video, but like a commentary video on like if someone sends us a video of them doing performing something and Brian can watch it live or something and give commentary as it's happening, as a means of having a back and forth, like an actual back and forth that's not just send me an email and I might use it on the show. And so having those new formats available is a big part of it.
Interesting.
Yeah. But it's definitely worrying. It's you know, as a part of it, you know, Scam School as a name is kind of that show is done more or less. I mean, I don't know what it landed on, and we also recently found out that the same is happening for Scam School Remix. So kind of as someone kind of overseeing the channel to some degree, the things that worry me now are like, well, we definitely had as a bare minimum 2 videos a week instead of 1, and the big video every week used to take 2 people to do to even have that video up. And knowing, you know, I know Jeff has said that he's in to keep helping out with the new Scam Nation stuff, but that becomes onboarding for him to kind of figure out, okay, well, I'm still building stuff out for this. I mean, the font, I love the font that we use for all of the graphics and stuff. It's Primetime, I think. But it is the personal version of Primetime, which does not have numbers in it.
Oh.
And so you have to do it's not very expensive. We just need to do it. But like little things like that, like this is still very much a work in progress. And introducing a second person into that is just friction. It becomes friction on something where we kind of need to hit the ground running, filming a lot of stuff and putting a lot of stuff out. And that's kind of where my eyes are at for right now.
Wait, so what's going on with Scam Nation?
So oh man,
did you know it sounds like damnation?
So while I was home, we were talking about what we would be shooting next, and one of the things that Brian was like was and by the way, like we had multiple videos. I was like, you know, how do we think about the name of everything? Because I kind of thought it would be Scam Nation, all one word, and like the word damnation. And I was like, we have been talking about this for such a long time in text, and in like none of that has ever been a thing. And I much prefer it as 2 words so that people can think of Scam Nation v damnation on their own. But they're 2 words. Let's keep it very simple, you know, because then you get into like, oh, well, you know, you need to make sure it's all one word, but it's camel cased, and you got to make sure you do that.
That's going to be your Modern Rogue or the Modern Rogue.
I'm trying to put my foot down now. Scam Space Nation.
I hate to ask now, but is it the Modern Rogue or just Modern Rogue?
Well,
So it depends on who you ask. If you're asking me, it is Modern Rogue. No, there's never been the Modern Rogue in any episode of Modern Rogue.
Right.
It's never been part of the assets. I would argue that the Modern Rogue is the article side. Yeah, I would love to change that. I would also love to change the icon away from Brian, but Brian's like super attached to it. Like, well, if it's not just me, then how are people going to know who's replying?
Which is the dumbest thing. He has a Brian Brushwood YouTube account.
He does.
And the reality of that makes Jason like not be on the Modern Rogue account and like respond from his own non-verified YouTube account.
Also, I've seen people still ask who's responding to me.
Right.
But I would argue that the Modern Rogue is the article side of things only because it's still called Modern Rogue for some reason. And I would like some kind of identifier between the two because Brian loves to call everything the same name for forever, regardless of any reasons. So it's like that, at least that way I can differentiate the two. But it's Modern Rogue. At some point we sat down and had a conversation in Slack, like, okay, let's figure this out. And I was like, okay, it's Modern Rogue.
The problem,
and then nobody stuck to it really.
The problem with trying to have the conversation and making the decision is that people will forget the decision and then act as if no decision was made.
Yep. And then also like every once in a while you'll catch like Brian will do like an email thing or something, and he'll use both in the same message.
Yeah.
Just kind of following his gut.
Yeah.
So it's impossible, but it's Modern Rogue. No the.
What's nice about Scam Nation is you couldn't really do a the. You can't have like the Scam Nation.
The Scam Nation.
Right. Though I think Scam Nation is also a good name for like the community, and that would be the only thing where I think there could be like weird confusion of like, well, is he talking about the channel or the people? But I think that's a smaller issue than the.
You got to call them the Scam Nationals.
Well, nationalism's kind of a big thing right now. It's kind of a tough time.
Hey, I didn't decide Scam Nation.
We all agree Scam Nation is a bad name. So, so that's kind of what is going on with the Scam School channel and what a Scam Nation is. But you know, the broad point being like, we want to do more. We want to do smaller stuff, and find new ways to do stuff with magic that we otherwise couldn't.
A question.
Yeah.
Is there any element? Is it just all magic? Is there any element to it that ever touches on, revolves around actual con man stuff, confidence man stuff, scam stuff?
Probably not. Scam School also did not ever.
There was little hints of that in like the first 80 episodes of Scam School or so, like the first year, maybe year and a half.
The Modern Rogue episode that we shot on scammers has more scamming information in it than probably any individual video from Scam School's history.
Yeah, Scam School just had the short change, and that was kind of it.
Yeah, the short. Yeah. Oh, he did a video on the short change thing, but that was pretty much it. It was mostly another branding thing that didn't inform the content of the channel. So you probably won't see much, if any at all, on actual scamming on Scam Nation. At least that's my sense.
No pressure.
That's what the scam actually is.
Well, that's a scam. That's an issue that Scam Stuff keeps running into, of like, because it shows up as scam stuff on your credit card. And the word scam's kind of a big issue in financial circles. So
I've heard it would be a great idea to change the name of that website.
And what about redesigning it?
Oh, a redesign, you say?
Hey,
maybe we should get John back. The other John.
Other John.
Who we've been talking about redesigning that website for 4 years.
A while now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's Scam Nation. You probably won't see any more videos called Scam School. You probably won't see any more videos called Scam School Remix. Thankfully, the library will stay on that channel. We will probably not change the URL. And my understanding from the business arrangement that we have is that the promo code for domain.com will also not change.
Great.
So
awesome.
So be on the lookout
Real
for
smooth.
more of those.
And does Brian still have the same Reddit account?
I think so.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. I'll like his Instagram is still Scam School Brian. He will always like wherever he's Scam School Brian, he will probably stay being that the entire time.
Either Scam School Brian or schwid.com.
Yes, spelled out.
Yep.
That's right. All right, so
because that website's really well maintained and upkeep at all times.
Hey! I updated that site last year.
So we're good for like another 5 years.
Well, it doesn't say the Nat Geo show anymore, so it's
that's something.
Well, it does say it there, but it doesn't. You know what? You can't find really information about hacking the system on the internet anymore. If you didn't know that, yeah. So this links to IMDb. This links to the IMDb part because there's like Nat Geo delisted it because they do tons of shows that they don't list anymore. Anyway, that's Scamnation. Brandt,
yo,
you just had a heavy week of work.
Yeah, it was like a 70-hour work week. It was a lot.
So you did the rapid response week. Was this our first time doing 5 videos in a week?
Yes. We've done, I want to say 3 before.
Mm-hmm.
And we've done 2 a couple of times as well, but this was the first time we did 5 episodes in a week. And I was doing really great for the first 3 videos.
You were like ahead of it, right?
Yeah.
At one point.
Yeah, it's funny, the deeper into the week you get, the less of a lead you get, and the more like clear and concise you can see the time difference that you have.
Yeah.
So like the first video went up and I had that done, like a full 24 hours beforehand or something like that. But then, you get to Wednesday or so and it's like, okay, I have 0 lead left. Let's just work through this.
Yeah, geez.
Wow, those are kicking ass.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well.
Oh.
The CPR one's not doing. I wonder why, but
yeah, I don't know. It might be a thing where everybody's like, I know CPR. You just do chest compressions.
And it doesn't sound as exciting as choking and burning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also, there are 500 billion different variables that determine whether
there are more videos about CPR probably versus chokes and burns and stuff, I bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're good videos.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them are relatively concise.
Yeah, the runtime on them is relatively short, 14 minutes, 10 minutes, 13, 16, 15.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's pretty tight, It looks like that runtimes have been down generally. There are still a couple of 20 plus. The 30 plus was the air cannon.
Yeah. If you had access to the Modern production doc, you could see it's all graphed out. I probably should have thought to screen cap that or something.
That's fine.
But yeah,
trending down.
Yeah, it's trending down. There's definitely there's right now there's a parabolic arc with runtimes of Modern Rogue episodes, and you could tell that it's like, okay, we didn't know what we were doing. We were doing little how-to videos, and then we realized, oh, here's the good stuff. It's all the character things and the process of Brian and Jason figuring something out. Yeah. So episode runtimes went way up because you have to show all the process, and then it kind of fluctuates a bit, and then you realize there are a couple of spikes where it's like, oh, here's a 45-minute video, here's a 50-minute video, and then it's like, no more of that. Yeah. And so it's dropped down quite a bit recently. Both a mixture of us trying to cut down recording times and a mixture of me just being more aggressive in the edit and saying, okay, well, if this has to be relegated to an extended outtakes, that's fine. If it's not directly contributing to the purpose of the video, then I'm just going to toss it.
Yeah, those videos, I mean, are still very dense, even the short ones.
Yeah. And
it makes it tough to cut stuff out. That was the thing with Scam School, where if there's a lot of intricacy to a trick, you get to the question of like, well, is this important enough that everyone needs to know it? And leaning on the side of caution, being like, okay, well, it's probably better to have it than to not.
Mm-hmm.
So that still gets tough, even when we do the smaller stuff. We ended up shooting like 4 things last week. And right. 3 of those were substantial shockingly short to shoot.
Yeah, like 5-minute record times.
Yeah.
Well, 10 for some of them, but yeah.
Are those, that was like a 3-part sort of thing if you look at it that in a certain light. Is that going to try to be like a 1-week thing?
I'm not sure. It might very well be like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday thing. I'll just kind of have to feel it out when I get there. Yeah. Those are so short that I can probably just
do them
in an off week. I can do it over a weekend if we're not shooting something, and then I can kind of load them up, and then I won't be like super stressed out over that week.
Yeah. Or it might, we keep talking about like 2 a week on Modern Rogue, and Modern Rogue is such a long show that I can't imagine it's even a possibility yet.
Right.
Of instead of saying like, okay, well, we can do a week of all 3 of these, doing a 2-week schedule and just starting with bang, bang, and bang.
But yeah, Rapid Response is doing well. People have been really receptive to it. Because it's a more responsible style video than we typically do.
Yeah.
So I think people are really appreciating that valuable information. Even if, some people think that we're a little flippant with it because Brian and Jason can't help themselves but joke around.
Right.
But I mean, we have already had people reach out to us saying that, hey, this saved a life tonight.
Yeah.
So
it was very informative. I watched every one.
Yeah. They came out really good. Any stories of the editing process on those?
Not really.
Well, that's good though.
Yeah, the thing that stuck out to me, I guess, the big problem I had with such a tight turnaround, besides the fact that it just left me with 0 time, was the fact that I usually like to do a certain degree of at least loose fact checking.
Oh, yeah.
And with this, I had 0 room for that. So it's like, if our guests say something, I just have to take them at face value and hope that they didn't misspeak or hope that they weren't misinformed about something.
Yeah.
And that is kind of a tricky thing. It seems like for the most part it worked out fine, although there was with the bleeding episode, they mentioned that tampons were created from World War II for like the
to stop
bleeding. But I actually did research that, and that's not really true, but everybody thinks it's true. Because it's like, actually it was patented a few years before, and then it's just the same plant that made them was also contracted by the government to make bandages and gauze and stuff like that.
Interesting.
So it's like there's a connection there, but it's not like it was made
line.
for that.
Yeah.
But you look in the comments of that video, and a lot of people are like, well, actually, and it's like, maybe not,
well, yeah.
maybe not. So I did have a deep gut feeling about that one, that it wasn't totally true. And so I did the basic amount of research to say, not true. I'm going to cut it out of the episode. I don't.
You ended up cutting it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like in a normal 1 per week episode, I think there could be value in leaving that in and then correcting it and saying like, oh, this is something that a lot of people believe. And then I can go in and say, there's value to having something that's wrong and then correcting it for the record. Especially
if it's a common misconception.
Yeah. But in this case, I was like, I can't afford to do that, so I'm just going to scrap it entirely.
Yeah.
But
cool.
most of the episode stuff came through together pretty well. If you don't mind, this one actually ties in with this schedule, or this one down here.
Yeah.
So
I've been hearing you've been in the Daywalker hours.
Yeah. Longtime listeners and viewers of the show will be familiar with the fact that I often wake up at sunset most days, and it's a doozy.
Yeah,
it's a whole mess.
I don't know how you do it.
Yeah. And I think it's gotten me like in a real funk, like a real state of mind over the past couple of years.
Yeah.
But this past week with the rapid response stuff, I woke up late enough on Thursday, and I had so much work to do on that Friday video because I basically started that Friday video Thursday night at 8 p.m., 7 p.m. or something like that. And it's like there's very little chance that I will get that done at 10 a.m. on Friday.
Right.
So I was like, okay, I'm just not going to go to sleep on Thursday night. I'm just going to work through the night and then work through the rest of Friday the day.
Yeah.
And I did that, and I got the episode out in a fairly reasonable amount of time. I mean, no later than Friday videos usually go up for us.
Yeah.
Noon-ish. And then I was like, okay, I'm just gonna ride this wave. I'm just gonna stay up as late as I can, and hopefully I hit sundown. And so I just sat around and watched Voyager for a while. Nice. And it was a fun little thing of like turning off one of my monitors and just. So often when I'm like, I never get the privilege of sitting on a couch and watching TV or anything. For me, it's like I can watch something, but there's so much that has to be done at all times that I have to, micromanage and multitask and say, okay, yeah, I'll watch this, but really I'm doing stuff on the back end of Patreon or Discord or whatever comments.
Yeah.
But so it was really nice to just like turn everything off and say, I'm just gonna sit here and drink some water so I don't die, and I'm gonna watch Voyager until I am ready to go to sleep. And so I made it till pretty much right at about sundown, a little bit right after, and it was great because I was watching an episode of Voyager where Neelix was telling like a ghost story, and the whole all of the power went out in the starship, so it was like it was dark outside and it was dark in the show, and it was a lot of fun. And then I went to sleep and I woke up at 5 a.m. or so.
Okay.
And since then I've been on like, it just like reset my body.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well now I get tired at 10 p.m. and I go to sleep a little bit after that. And I wake up at 7 a.m., 8 a.m., something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm
cool.
I'm just coasting on that for now. We'll see. I actually did the exact same thing about 3 months ago or so. And it lasted all the way up until Thursday when there was a long edit that I had to stay up late for, and then it broke me again.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it works out. But so far it's been pretty nice.
Yeah.
Being able to wake up and see daylight, which especially during these winter months, it's like
tough.
If you wake up as late as I do, good luck seeing the sun.
God, I can't imagine, man.
And so it's been really interesting. I have to really adjust myself because I'm so acclimated to just the routine of knowing that it's like, okay, I can get up and I can get caught up on the day, and then I'll go grab some food or something, and I'll come back and I'll work, and it'll be dark, and there's like a sort of rhythm and mentality that goes behind that. But when you wake up this early, it's like there's just a different vibe, and so it's really hard for me to resume that routine or adopt that routine. So I kind of had to develop a new routine to become productive earlier in the day. But
yeah, it's weird to be productive when the sun is out.
Yeah, for me as a creative, it's always been easier at night.
Okay.
Yeah.
My sleep schedule has kind of gotten, I guess, better the past couple of weeks. I mean, I still have a pretty normal sleep schedule, I guess. But in terms of like getting up a little earlier, that's kind of been happening for me. To kind of get through some more of these topics before we go a little too long. Brandt, it looks like we've got captioning. We've got lots of captions, and I know you love captions.
Yeah, boy do I. Yeah, so we found a service that we can use to contract captions, which we started doing this past month or so. We're very slowly going to be working through old episodes, but right now the big focus is doing them on new episodes and making sure that they're, up to a certain quality of standard. Unfortunately, the service we use is fine, and it's not super expensive. But one of the problems I have with it is because they deal with such a volume of output, they contracted out to a bunch of different people.
Right.
Whereas ideally what you would want is you would want to say, okay, I'm getting my captions from you and I am teaching you how I like them. And then you can just do them right forever.
Yeah.
So I like developed a style guide adjustment sheet for those people because I kind of developed a sense of what their internal style guide is. And so I'm like, okay, most of the style guide is fine, but change this list of things. And sometimes they do a really good job of following my recommendations and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
And I have to go in and edit them at the very least to just make sure that it's right. Usually it's close enough. Usually it's functional. There are just like some visual style aesthetic things that need to be changed, or some timing things that need to be changed.
Yeah. What's the turnaround on that? Like a day? 2 days?
So it depends on how long the video is, but I think I want to say it's relatively fast. Usually it ends up being like 12 hours or so.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, and I think if it's under 15 minutes of video, then they guarantee 6 hours or something.
Wow. Jeez.
And then if it's longer, they guarantee 24 hours, but usually it's like 12 to 15 hours or so.
Yeah. Let me see if I can pull up. Oh, it won't be able to because we don't have a URL. Facebook, we've been mirroring the YouTube uploads to Facebook for Scam Nation, and they have an interesting thing where you can kind of see their auto-generated captions work.
I was just about to mention those. Those are kind of miraculous sometimes.
They're generally really good, and they'll do a thing where it's like, hey, you want to auto turn on like captions because you're sharing stuff, and if you don't have pre-baked in subtitles, that kind of like makes up for it. But my experience using that has been really, really good in terms. I mean, it won't do like new speakers or if they're spelling stuff. There's still no way for it to know that sort of thing.
Yeah, but like when I caption a lot of my own web series, what I'll do is I'll upload it on Facebook and grab their captions and then put it into Premiere and then upload it on YouTube.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, that'll work. But that's been a cool thing. But I'm glad that there's a captioning service that's kind of working to your standard.
Yeah. There's still just that little barrier of like I've still got to watch through it all and make those adjustments.
Yeah.
But it's still cutting out 75% of my work if I were just doing it myself.
Yeah,
so
sure. Okay, a couple more topics here. We talked about it last time, and I think we talked about it last episode. We still don't exactly know when construction is going to start on the headquarters yet because
I've heard it could happen as soon as a week. Could.
Wow.
So
if certain things are approved,
we're waiting on permits. Permits are the only thing that we're waiting on.
Right.
And the second that we get the go ahead on that, a lot of the stuff that we're currently trying to do is very quick, right? They want to build a steel structure for the warehouse stuff. They want to redo the electrical in the main studio room and get that so that we can go in and do sound treatment and get sets and stuff built in there. But all of that needs permits.
And so that we could plug in 12 fans at once.
Yes. And so we should hear back from that about this time. This is about when we heard that we could hear back from permits from permitting on that stuff. So hopefully sometime this month we'll have more to show, probably on like the Patreon lens stuff for Modern Rogue. Maybe there will be a video about something going on, but who knows? So that's that. Brandt.
Yeah.
You've been using Instagram and they have a new feature.
Yeah. I've been advocating it for a while, but they finally got in alternate text for photos that you upload to Instagram. So basically you can upload a photo to Instagram and you can say, okay, I'm going to describe this photo for visually impaired users.
Yeah.
And it's something that Twitter's had for forever, and it's criminally underused. Nobody uses it except for me, it seems.
I use it, but only because Buffer reminds me every single time.
But yeah, it's also a weird thing where it's like there's such a small percentage of users who use it, but you know those people who use it get such incredible value out of it.
Yeah.
It's like I think literally one person has been like, thank you for using this. But that one person made all the difference of validating my use of it.
Is that only for photos?
I don't know.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah.
Because I know for Twitter, it's only photos. I wish they did GIFs, but they don't.
Oh, right. Because they treat GIF like videos.
Yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was just photos as well on Instagram.
Speaking of Instagram, we've been using Instagram and Facebook more for Scam Nation. We have is it Scam Nation Show? I think
that sounds right.
I think it's Scam Nation Show in most places, and it's been interesting to like have an outlet for like actual meaty versions of the content. It's like in the mailbag stuff, I'll trim out parts of stuff to fill like so that if you were just on Instagram, you would actually see a minute of something that is a substantive statement, right? Or like we've got when we did the color the Erdnase color change. This is basically just a minute of David talking away about the very basic method to do it. And so if you just saw this, you would have at least the raw materials to do it yourself.
And technically, you can do pretty much the full videos if you dice them up into 60-second pieces in one upload.
Yeah,
which is cumbersome, but
it's like the other issue with Instagram is that I have not found an easy way to put videos on Instagram, or pre-produced videos on Instagram. It is a huge pain in the ass, and the only way I've found that I was able to do it was to take a video and to get it on my phone and to trim it in Instagram, so that Instagram will re-encode it for their own service and stuff.
That does suck. You have to use a phone. You can't do it on a desktop.
Right.
Yeah, they have a desktop interface, but last I checked, you can upload
there's
like anything through the desktop.
Nothing. So. Like all the things that I've seen are like, here's a hack. You can change your web agent to say you're a phone. But even then, it's like, well, is this even going to work? Right. Or stuff like this. Like we did the dice swap. And so like a looping sort of video thing that we can use on Instagram and on Twitter and on Facebook, and kind of seeing what we can do and seeing if there's any fire there for that stuff. Because I know with Modern Rogue, we didn't have if we had the Twitter, we didn't use the Twitter for a very long time, in terms of like posting about episodes, or you're doing like excerpts or clips for it there. The written side of Modern Rogue has a Facebook community. There are people who are using the Modern Rogue Facebook to a non-zero degree, is my understanding. I just don't use Facebook, and with someone else who kind of is wrangling all that stuff. But so my goal is to try to at least go into this receptive to those mediums and the people who are there in a world where, like, because so much of what we want to do is does have crossover appeal, especially like the mailbag stuff. A lot of that stuff applies to just anybody, and or to a lot of people, not just magicians. Yeah. And so,
I was gonna say, like a month ago, I created like some samples of what Modern Rogue could look like on Instagram. Like basically take an episode and break it into 5 images with captions, and tell the story of that episode in 5 images that are already formatted for Instagram.
Sure.
Or to tell a story on Instagram with 5 separate video pieces, formatted for Instagram. And so maybe we'll see some of that soon.
Yeah.
It will be thought about.
It's tough to figure out, because like we don't really have like, I mean, we all use social media to various personal degrees, but like in terms of like coming up with a campaign plan or figuring out what the right goals are for that stuff.
And the house style and
yeah, I mean that is all still kind of in the dark, and whatever we can do will be exactly what we can do. And so like that's where I'm at with the Instagram is like, you know, we want to do just like a short version of the video or in like substantive issue parts of the video? Do we want it to be a teaser element to get people to watch the YouTube videos? You know, is that barking up a tree, or is like, well, if all they would do is watch what you put on Instagram, is there any value in trying to get them into YouTube, and what's the value of keeping them on Instagram with meaty content? It's I don't know the answer to that stuff, because even though Scam School, like, especially when it was starting out, a big part of it was that Brian would be in the comments, and he still is in the comments a lot. Like, that is not how people are building communities on YouTube anymore. You know, just in the YouTube comments, right? It's like they're either doing it out somewhere else, like we have a Discord, or they're using other social networks that are actually social, like Instagram. I
haven't replied to a YouTube comment in over a year.
Yeah, and so trying to figure out where that community is and where that community can foster, and at least having the doors open on these things so that we have a presence that people can point to and say, yeah, and actually engage natively there, as much as possible. So that's kind of that. So I have a reveal.
Oh, exclusive.
It's a 6-hour exclusive or so. The guys have been working on a new Night Attack album. They've talked about it on Night Attack for the past month or so. If you don't know Night Attack, that's Brian's comedy show that he works on with his buddy Justin, and I am on that show also. And so they have been working on a new comedy album, focusing a lot on the music that Stephen Cogswell has made for the show. Sure. That dude has made probably hundreds of songs at this point, just taking audio from the episodes and turning them into fun jingles or little bits. And so they've got an album, and on the episode tonight, and that's why I'm spoiling it here, because this episode will certainly not be out before that episode of Night Attack comes out. They asked me to do the art, and we've decided on a title as of yesterday. And so I am going to show it with you guys here. Can you give a little bit of background on the comedy stuff, Brandt, as I find where I put that out?
Sure. So Brian and Jason like to talk to each other
Justin.
Yeah, whatever.
Come on.
In comedic fashion.
Yeah.
And so they were like, what if we conned our way into having a #1 Billboard comedy album thing?
Right.
And so they've made what, like 5 comedy albums now? 4?
So they've made 4. The Night Attacks 1, 2, 3, and Live. Right. Which was before 3.
And yeah, so they're doing that whole thing again. Usually it's a tight 12, 15 tracks, something like that.
Something like that. So this one we're focusing on a lot of Steven's work and doing a lot of commentary and stuff. So this is the album art for All's Well, a Night Attack album. This is actually based off of a photo that Steven sent to me, probably some promotional photo I guess he shot a long time ago. And then given kind of a retro sort of easy listening sort of vibe.
Reminds me of Aha.
Okay, yeah.
Because they had that one video.
Yeah. The Take On Me. Yeah. Okay, I can see that. So I really like this image. I'm very glad that this is the image that we ended up using and not the other alternative that we were kind of looking at. So I'm going to get into this here because I don't know that I want to show my entire ass on Night Attack until this. So the process for making this image was very cool because it looks like a drawn and then watercolor painted image is actually processed. So it's
what?
No, so he sent me this photo that I did some editing on to make it look a certain way, and then actually using Photoshop's got that find edges feature, and so I was able to use that. And then I don't know if you've seen the web the little web tool, and I'm gonna forget the name of it right now, where you give it line art and it colorizes it and like paints it.
I'm not sure if I've seen that.
Sketch.moe, is that anything? Is Moe sketch web tool? I'm live Googling.
Super hip to the kids.
Oh man, I'm not gonna
apps and plugins and filters and tools.
Oh my god, Style 2 Paints. Okay, that's the name of it. This is the correct name. Style 2 Paints, and you put in a you put in a line art, and s2p.moe is it. You put in line art and it will paint it basically. So it'll do algorithmic stuff and give you kind of a painted sort of look, and you can pick palettes, various palettes based on some of the stuff that they have built into it.
That's cool.
And so this image is like an alteration on something like that. So it ran through that filter, and then I changed up some of the color stuff and made it sort of this warm and cool sort of contrasty thing, because otherwise it was all like pink. But I'm proud of it, and I'm glad that we're using it, and I think it came out well. So
looks good.
Thank you.
That's fun.
It came out all's well. A Night Attack. Hey. So that is coming out in 2 weeks. Oh God, we're definitely 2 weeks.
I'm getting flashbacks to when I worked on the Night Attack comedy albums, and they were like, "We would like this done next week," and it's like, you've just given me all of the raw material. I don't know what you expect me to do with this.
So I've been hands off with the album for that exact reason. Actually, Justin's brother, what is his name? I don't know Justin's brother's name, but Justin's brother actually did the editing and piecing together of the pieces. So cool. So it's kind of been in his hands, and the rough stuff sounds good, and I think my understanding is that it should mostly be in place. I know when I listened to it a few weeks ago, I had some pretty radical thoughts about the way that stuff should be. So I've done my part. I've done the album art, and January 22nd is the date.
Well, tell me, so like, I buy this album, I push play. What am I hearing? Am I hearing a song, and then they'll talk about it, and then?
So it's a mixture, right? There's like a little intro bit that I think they should redo, but there's a bit of an introduction to it, but it's a mixture of like the music that Stephen made for us. There's some commentary on the context of the songs and the episodes that they came from, and then there's a nebulous amount of like just pure comedy tracks thrown in for flavor. So I don't quite know what that all looks like in the final version, because I've been hands off with that element of it. But that's the basic gist. Is there's music, there's comedy, and it'll be probably under an hour. I think it'll be about an hour, maybe.
Really?
Yeah. So so that's coming up in 2 weeks. We'll have more information on that on Night Attack tonight. And nightattack.tv if you're listening to this after the fact.
How long has it been since the last album?
Ooh, I mean, Night Attack 3 was when I moved here. Like, I was working on Night Attack 3 before I started working with Brian, working for Brian.
So 2014, 2015.
Is there going to be a CD version?
No.
Oh, okay.
There might be a vinyl because there's music on it, and we made this really cool image. But there will probably not be a physical CD. So keep an eye out. We're hopefully they can get it up soon so that people can actually pre-order it and not just say everybody buy it on the same day. But we'll kind of see what that looks like. You need to crack that? There you go.
Did you guys enjoy that?
So last topic, Brandt, this is more of an off-topic thing, and we kind of hit on it a little bit. How's Star Trek, buddy?
Although technically, last time you did say if we were going to talk about Star Trek, it needed to be an official main topic.
That's true. We did
just let the record state.
We did give Star Trek its own line item.
Right.
What's the update? Because last time we talked, you'd finished New Generation.
That was a couple times ago. Last time I had finished DS9.
Okay.
So little update. So I watched First Contact, which is a movie. It's got Picard in it, and it deals with Earth and the first instance of
contact, alien
warp
contact,
speed.
Of warp speed. Yeah. And that was fine. It was kind of nice to just be around those characters again.
Okay. Yeah.
But not like it didn't move me like TNG did.
Sure. Okay.
Although it was kind of weird to see, like, especially it's been a while since I've seen it now. It's probably been like a month, but I remember the early part of it was really weird because it was like all of the trappings of the show. It's like the set and the characters and some of the moments, but you could tell that it was like restructured for the movie structure, and it was just like there was a weird essence about the air.
Yeah.
There was like the pacing was different because it was a movie, and it was just like, oh, this is a weird thing. And also just like, they kind of let things breathe in a way that the show didn't.
Well, question, did you see Generations?
No.
Oh. How can you see First Contact if you haven't seen Generations?
Is it serialized?
Well, Generations is the first next gen movie that happens before First Contact.
Oh.
Although, truth be told, it will really, really disappoint you if you've seen First Contact, because First Contact is the good one, and Generations is really, really bad.
Yeah,
that's probably why I didn't watch Generations.
Are you using any sort of guide or view?
No, I'm just going gut.
Just jazz, baby.
I'm just feeling
Star
it.
Trek: The Next Jazzeration.
Yep, that's what they call it. So I watched that.
Okay.
And that was fine. I watched all of Discovery.
The new CBS All Access thing.
The new one, yeah.
That's coming back soon, I think.
Yes. So season 2.
Did you like Discovery?
So season 2 is starting soon. Season 1, I did like.
Oh, good.
Quite a bit. It felt unfortunate to me. Well, there's two sides to it because they don't do the sort of anthology format and style of TNG or DS9 or
right.
Voyager.
It's serialized.
And I felt like they did a fine enough job mixing it up and saying like, okay, now there's this new big development and that sort of segments the rest of this season, and then here's this new development and it segments the rest of the season. And so it's like they're able to mix it up a bit, and there are a ton of really fun ideas. But with the anthology stuff, sometimes it's just really nice to be like, oh, here's this like really fun, weird, self-contained story.
Yeah.
And you just don't get any of that with the serialized stuff.
I wonder if that's what they're trying to do with the movies. I mean, I don't think that they're parallel stories, but I have to imagine that the new round of movies, I guess, that they've been making could fill that role. But I don't know, because I don't know anything about Star Trek.
Sure. You haven't seen the new movies?
I know nothing about. I have not seen any Star Trek anything. Yeah,
a couple of them are good.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, like all Star Trek, half is great and half is
Yeah. Have you? Oh, that's the thing. Have you seen the modern Star Trek?
So the modern films I saw before I started TNG or any of the TV show stuff.
Interesting.
So to me, like I approached those movies with the context of being a fan of Star Wars and just other fantasy and science fiction and stuff.
Yeah.
And so to me, that was kind of its own thing that I just sort of experienced isolated.
Weirdly, that's probably the best way to experience those, especially the second one, because if you've seen any Star Trek, you will hate the second Abrams movie. But if you've never seen Star Trek before, then, like you enjoyed those, I presume.
Yeah. They were fun movies.
Okay. This is gonna sound dumb because it is dumb because I don't know anything about Star Trek. in the universe of Star Trek, right? So it sounds like there's a TNG pool of characters. It sounds like there's a Discovery pool of characters.
Okay. Yeah.
And a original series pool of characters.
Sure.
Other than the movies, have you seen any stuff with the original pool of characters? Like Shatner and stuff?
So you just sort of like get a little bit of just
osmosis.
Yeah. Just through culture, in large. The only real things that I've seen from the original series is one, the amazing fight with Kirk and some alien monster dude, which is like renowned as a horrible, horrible fight, and it's just like slow motion, like ugh. Yeah. Because I was actually, when I wrote out a description for a Modern Rogue episode the other day, I wanted to figure out what the term was for the attack like this that Kirk does.
Interlocked fingers.
Yeah, and so I found some article that like dove deep into it, and I watched that scene from that article. But also there's an episode of DS9 where they go back in time onto the Enterprise from the original series. Oh. And it's very cool. And so like they basically infiltrate an episode from the original series, and there's like a mirroring of it and like giving a little bit more context to what was happening there.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
like
cool.
Rosencrantz and Guildenstern kind of thing.
Yeah, and so like that's my primary source of knowledge of the original series.
Okay, very cool. What's the next step for Star Trek?
Well, so that's not all.
Okay.
I liked Discovery, and it was good and some very cool ideas. And I'm looking forward to see what they do with that. There was a bit of if you had seen TNG or DS9, there are some very familiar plot elements in Discovery, and that was kind of fun to see again. But I'm interested to see where they go from there. Yeah. I just last night finished Voyager.
Okay.
So I watched all 7 seasons of Voyager. And I expected to not like it because I feel like every time it's been brought up, people are like, Voyager's fine. But I really liked Voyager. I really enjoyed my time with it. And I don't know, I'll see how I feel about it in time, because I think I've started to like Deep Space Nine a little bit more the further I've gotten away from it.
Yeah.
Because I've been able to appreciate, here are these like big themes that they tried to approach that I really appreciate that are like difficult to handle. And right now I'm fresh off Voyager. I'm hot off of it, and I'm like, this was great.
Right.
There are some things I didn't like basically anything that involved B'Elanna Torres. She's a half Klingon, half human.
Klingman.
Yep. There was an episode that dealt about depression with her, and the first part of it seemed fine enough. It's like, I recognize these traits in depression. That makes sense. That seems like an accurate enough portrayal.
Yeah.
And then at the end, there's like a whole thing where they really confront it, and the first commander is like, you should really go see the doctor. And she's like, send me on this mission. That's what I must do. And then they send her on the mission. And then she's like, I don't know that I'm better, but I think I'll be okay.
Oh, God.
And so it's like, you really should go see the doctor.
Yeah, that hasn't changed anything.
Yeah. And so there are like 1 or 2 moments like that where it's like, that wasn't handled very well. But generally speaking, they do some really wacky, interesting stuff. Minor spoilers. So for one of the episodes, they've got transporter technology.
Yeah.
Where, you get on the little...
Beam me up, Scotty.
You get on the lift and they transport you to a location, or they transport you back.
Yeah.
And most series, they don't do anything like super wild and crazy with transporter technology. Sometimes it's like, we transported something bigger than we're supposed to normally, or whatever. But Voyager... There is an episode where they
sorry, actually, let's run that back. Is that an actual plot where they get transported somewhere and they are bigger, like they're like giants?
I was trying to think. No.
Okay. I thought that was a specific reference to.
Although there was an episode where they were shrunk down.
Oh, you can't do that.
I think that was TNG.
They got transported into their younger selves.
Oh, that's dumb. That's.
I don't remember that.
Oh.
What series was that?
That was Next Gen.
TNG? Are you guys thinking of the same thing for some reason?
All of a sudden you had Captain Picard as a child. And,
oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah, all right. Anyway.
Yeah.
So in this episode of Voyager, the ship is under attack, and one of the crewmen is pregnant and giving birth. And, like, systems are going down and things are looking real bad.
Yeah.
And basically they have to deliver this child, and they're not able to do like a C-section or whatever for X reason or whatnot. So they transport the baby out.
That's awesome.
It's so good.
That's stupid.
Oh, come on.
What are you talking about?
That's
like
so
you have
dumb.
the transporter technology there. Every baby should be transported out.
What?
Who would want to go through
How is that
childbirth?
not like a great use of that technology that they deeply underutilized?
How does the technology distinguish between two entities?
They have pretty high resolution scanners. Like it also has, I mean, they've got biofilters.
I mean, if you're just telling me that he's like lasso tooling it out of her stomach. That's so dumb. Okay.
I mean, they have Bryce, this is 300 years in the future.
I love that that's your hang up about it.
That's because it's a consent. Okay.
So they have, well, I mean, also there are things where they're like, hey, we've got, you know, we're standing in this like enhancement thing, like they put post downs to enhance their signal or whatever.
Okay.
And you know, they're like, hey, we have 4 life forms here. So they lock onto the life forms. I assume there are complex algorithms that determine these kinds of things. I mean, they've got biofilters that are like, hey, if you have a harmful antigen on you or something, we will transport all of you, but not the antigens.
Okay.
This is like long established kind of stuff.
Okay.
So it's just very fun to see them utilizing the technology that already exists in ways that they haven't really dealt with much prior to.
Yeah, why would anybody go through childbirth in the future?
It's a great question.
Yeah,
great question.
Transport all the babies.
But you know, Voyager has a ton of fun stuff. They have a character who I don't know what. There's probably like some behind the scenes reasons why they wrote this character out of the show. This character is like comes from a race of like really strong telepathic abilities, but over years and years and years they've like repressed those abilities. So these are people who have these abilities but don't even use them or don't even realize that they have them. It's just like old myths that they had them or whatever.
Okay.
And so they liberate one of these people and they bring him on board and they have him around for a few seasons, and she starts developing these telepathic abilities because she's like, oh, I totally believe that that's a thing. And she meets some people who are like a sect from that race who kind of branched off and were like, no, yeah, we totally have telepathic abilities and that's why we left.
Okay.
So she gets like stronger and stronger, and she starts being able to like immolate shit with her mind and like doing some wild stuff. And then she gets so powerful that at some point in the series, she literally disappears into the fabric of the universe. And oh, Bryce, please. You're too good for cool science fiction stuff.
That's not science. Okay, so
Bryce,
she's in the fabric of you.
The gravimetric measurements. Okay. I'm just saying there are like some very cool, interesting things, and then also she comes back like a few seasons later, which is, and she does. There's like a shot where she's like walking down the hall and she's just like, stuff's flying behind her because she's all like, I'm telepathic. It's great. There are a lot of like super, super cool ideas.
Cool.
There's some weird slowness to a couple of the first seasons where it's like Oh yeah, they're around. They're like the not super interesting stuff is happening, but there's really great stuff with the Borg, which is a species that of like nanomachines basically that attack a person and then turn them into mindless drones, and they all think in a collective. And they deal with a ton of Borg stuff in Voyager, and they actually get a person from the collective and they sever that link, and then they kind of take out a bunch of her implants. And then so the last 3 seasons of Voyager, or 4 seasons or whatever, is like her trying to redevelop her humanity after living her whole life as part of the Borg collective.
Oh, okay.
And there's a lot of really fun, cool stuff with that as well.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it.
Very cool.
Well, now I'm excited. I've never seen Voyager.
Voyager is surprisingly cool.
All right. There you go.
That's just got to make it through DS9.
DS9 gets better the further he gets along, except there's some weird stuff in the last season where they're like, oh, we got to wrap stuff up. But like, depending on DS9 is really cool because it's all about we spoke about this last time I talked about DS9 on the show, but Cisco, the captain of DS9, he becomes a religious icon to the Bajorans, and he's like balancing his role as he's a religious icon to these people, but also he has to adhere to Starfleet ideals, which aren't always in unison. And then also he comes into contact with this alien species who the Bajorans, who believe him to be a religious icon, that alien species is their god. Okay. And so he gets direct visions from their god, and it's him coming to it with this really reserved, skeptical ideal of like, please Bajorans, I know your sacred texts say this thing, but you're interpreting it to look like me. And then the more he talks to these aliens and has these visions, the more he kind of believes that mythology.
Okay.
And so it's him like kind of being pulled in 2 directions and trying to navigate his way through that. And towards the end, there's some like really cool, like there's an episode that gets like very metaphysical and like, is like there's some weird split reality stuff, and it's very interesting.
Cool. There you go. Well, there's your Star Trek update.
Yep.
Any other off-topic stuff that we want to bring up? I watched a lot of TV over the break. Nailed It. It's still really good on Netflix. That's a cooking show. Bird Box is pretty bad. It's bad because the middle part is boring and the end doesn't exist. What was the other thing? I did not like Black Mirror Bandersnatch very much because I only had 2 hours to give it instead of like 6.
But I'm only at like the 90-minute mark.
Yeah. Supposedly there's a lot of stuff you can do in there, but as someone who's played like interactive games before, I can definitely see the stuff that people thought was really cool. I definitely see like, oh no, that's just like a limitation of your engine. Like you did that because you couldn't figure out a way to do it in a more sophisticated way. But that was an okay thing. I watched half of Roma and felt really bad because I fell asleep because it was really late. But Roma looks really cool. And,
Alfonso Cuarón.
That's right. Best foreign film it won at the Golden Globes the other night. But I am excited to see it fully awake. But yeah, I think that's just about it. I haven't played too many I've been playing Smash. I've been playing a lot of Smash Brothers. That single player mode is good. That's how you get me to keep playing a Smash game and not all the other stuff. I don't care about any of the other stuff. I like the single player.
Do you know how to wave dash?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
That tells me all I need to know about your skill level.
Anything for you guys?
I have been randomly watching, for those of you who remember or heard of it, Northern Exposure in high definition with the original music It's a very niche, nerdy thing, whatever, but it is coming back. They're bringing the show back.
Oh.
It was during like the early 90s Twin Peaks era, and it was like the dramedy comedy kind of version of Twin Peaks, except with an emphasis on storytelling and writing. And so it was just a fantastic show, but now it's finally in HD. And because when it came out on DVD or whatever, they replaced all the music with like elevator music.
Yeah.
Because, licensing, blah, blah, blah. But it's back in HD. You can only get it through the UK version, or if you are a nautical explorer out there. But I've bought that series like 10 times over. I have the laser discs and the VHS and the DVD. And so give me a break, people. Plus, I'll probably be getting the Blu-rays when they come to the US, if I'm being totally honest.
Yeah, very cool. All right, well, it's time to wrap this up. This episode went way longer than I thought it would, but it was good talks.
Thanks
John,
for having me.
Do you have social medias that anyone should follow?
Yeah, I Skeptically Pwned, Twitter, Facebook, all that. And shout out to my co-stripper friend, Gabriel Chalice.
Okay, there you go, Gabriel.
All right.
Brandt?
Twitter, Instagram, Gatawag, GATOWAG, Twitch.
Yeah.
Also Modern Rogue Show, and Spider-Man Into the Universe was good.
Spider-Man was great. I think that's a masterpiece.
It's really phenomenal.
It's fantastic. My plugs, these are actually real.
Nice, got it in there.
I realized that I was the last hope of having that in there. You follow me on Twitter at Brightcast, BRYCAS. And I am streaming here on the Night Attack Twitch channel, occasionally twitch.tv/Night Attack. This show is called The Bizarre Briefing. You can get it at bizarrebriefing.com. We reformatted this computer and yes, bizarrebriefing.com. Another the issue. Yeah. I always get confused. Bizarrebriefing.com. You can find our old episodes, get the RSS, time codes, all that good stuff. If you'd like to watch the video version, we are on youtube.com/scamstuff. And this show comes out at the end of the month, or we recorded at the end of the month for the previous month. And we'll probably be back in about a month to talk about January. So until then, say goodbye.
See ya.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.